Hello everyone, welcome back to the Around the Mets channel. It's been a while since I posted a video on here, but I wanted to just talk about the post-trade deadline Mets because if you're watching this team, you know not only are they winning, but they're doing it well. The offense is firing on all cylinders. The bullpen has been really good after they traded everyone away. And the starting pitching has been solid enough to where the offense can keep them in games. We're not getting DeGrom treatment for any of these starting pitchers, which is great to see. The kids look good. Benj is making a very strong case for Rookie of the Year. So I just want to talk about a couple different things surrounding this team after the trade deadline because I really think it is interesting how good they have been. So August 3rd was the trade deadline. We're getting right into this here. And then August 4th, they start a series in Cleveland, and they go out and sweep the Cleveland Guardians. 6-2 on Tuesday. They win it. On Wednesday, they win 6-5 in 10 innings. Got a little bit lucky in the 10th inning there, but nevertheless. And then they go out and win 13-6 on Thursday. So a very solid series overall from the Mets. First game, Manaea pitched really well on Tuesday, right after the trade deadline. We got to see the first of those arms. And the offense was also pretty good, putting up those 6 runs, 3 in the second. They hit Joey Cantillo. And then right after that, go to Pittsburgh. They win 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh. And then they go to Atlanta, lose 2 out of 3. Yes, but they've won the season series against the Braves. And then they sweep the Nationals over the weekend of the 14th through the 16th, and then they stay home against the Padres, and they win 2 out of 3 against the Padres. And it's really interesting to see how well this team is doing, especially because not a lot changed on the offensive end of the trade deadline. The only offensive piece they traded away was Tyrone Taylor, and the only guy they traded away from their starting rotation was Clay Holmes, who was injured at the time, and Robert Stock has kind of taken his place in the rotation. Or he's taken Freddie Peralta's place, and you didn't really have to replace Clay Holmes because he was already hurt. Really, you just had to retool the bullpen, and guys like Jeffrey Yan, Nate Lavender, Daniel Duarte, Austin Warren just came back. The entire bullpen has been extremely, extremely solid since the trade deadline. And this whole team, I think it's just, I don't know if team success can be as simple as they're playing looser, but that might just be it. And I'm seeing a lot of people talk online about how much better the Mets have been with Andy Green, and I do really like Andy Green as the interim manager for this team. He does seem like a leader, but managers can't do everything, and they can't always make the players perform better. That's up to the players still. Managers have to lead the team, but the players still have to perform. And so far since the trade deadline, A.J. Ewing has been a little bit slow, but he's still hitting well, hitting at the top of the order. Carson Bench has been really good. Of course, we don't have Juan Soto right now, but they seem to be making up for his offensive production. It's just like the weird thing about this team, no one is really standing out. Lindor is getting back to his numbers, but no one is absolutely crushing the ball besides Luis Torrens, who's been awesome in the month of August, by the way. But no one is crushing the ball to the fact where you can say they're carrying this stretch after the deadline. It's just that this is kind of the team that David Stearns wanted, and also the team that he didn't envision but would have been happy with. It's kind of an anomaly because at the start of the season, you go around the horn and you look behind the plate. Francisco Alvarez, if he could stay healthy, he was really good towards the end of last year. He can continue that production because we saw him do it in 2023. Then he could be a really solid catcher behind the plate. Jorge Polanco coming off a really good year last year and a good postseason last year, so he can be a good bat for you at first base. Marcus Semien was the biggest question mark surrounding this team, but on the surface, it was like he had one down year, because a couple years ago, you got to remember that Marcus Semien signed that huge contract not only for his defense, but also because he was one of the premier second basemen in the league. So you were hoping that with the help of Jeff Albert and Troy Snitker, that he could regain that offensive prowess and get back to his former self. But even if he didn't, that's one weak link in the lineup. And of course, teams like the Dodgers don't have that. But you don't necessarily need 9 guys to be firing on all cylinders at all times to win 80 games a year, even 90 games a year. You want most of your guys to go on hot stretches at different points, sometimes at the same time, but you can't expect every guy on the roster to have a 800 or 900 OPS throughout the season. So you're there. Then you look at shortstop with Francisco Lindor, who's still one of the best shortstops in baseball, still one of the best offensive shortstops in baseball, and that production hasn't really faded at all this year. So you were good there. Third base, Bo Bichette, you saw what he could do a little bit in the World Series last year. The thing with Bo is he's very streaky, which we kind of had to expect coming into the year, but when he is right, you can't get him out. I believe it was Mark Luino who said that on the Metsed Up podcast, but it's really true, and it's a really solid quote from Mark. So, bottom line, you have a really good infield. Okay, and then you go into the outfield, you have a rookie Benj in right field, you don't know how he's going to perform, but you hope it's well. He was really good in the minors last year, you hope he adapts. Center field, Luis Robert Jr., if he could have stayed healthy, probably could have put up a 700 OPS in his sleep this year. And then Juan Soto in left is going to be an MVP candidate every year that he stays healthy. So then you just fill in the gaps. Pitching staff, Freddie Peralta was very promising. He was very good for the Brewers last year. You hoped he could replicate that success. Nolan McLean, you hoped he could build off of his short rookie campaign last year. And then you fill out the rest of the team with guys like Christian Scott coming back, and the Mets had a really promising team. And yes, they underperformed, but that wasn't all of it. Alvarez has definitely underperformed a little bit, but he might be the most consistent player the Mets have had this year outside of Juan Soto. I don't remember him getting injured. Maybe he did get injured now that I'm thinking about it, but he didn't have any super major injuries this year, and he's been just solid out of the 9 hole in the order. Jorge Polanco has been a complete disappointment and we've wanted Pete Alonso back all year. But Polanco has gotten hurt a lot. He just got season-ending ankle surgery. If he had, I know this is a huge if and you can't rely on hypotheticals, but if he were to stay healthy the whole year, who knows what kind of production he could give you, because a lot of his bad production this year likely is contributed by his ankle hurting him. So you don't know what could have happened there. Semien has been not good. You can't sugarcoat that. He got hurt, but that's not the reason that we've underperformed at second base. But then you look at Lindor, coming off he broke his hamate bone at the beginning of spring training, came back, got like 3 spring training games, and then they threw him right into the fire in opening day with a hamate injury, which I think was limiting him. So he basically, for the first couple months, we know Lindor always starts slow, but for the first couple weeks he was starting extra slow, and that's probably attributed to the fact that he didn't have a spring training because he broke his hamate bone. So then finally, he gets to a point where he's starting to look better. It's starting to look like we're finally getting to May and June Francisco Lindor of years past, where he starts to increase his offensive production, and then he goes down with the calf injury, which was very unfortunate because that was right when the Mets got back Soto from calf injury. I'll get back to Soto in a minute, but Lindor then comes back from the calf right around the All-Star break, he's not performing well, and before the trade deadline, everyone's like, we have to trade Lindor. Why? Because he had 40 games of low production after just missing time with a calf strain and getting, 5 minor league rehab games? You can't expect a player to be himself after pulling his calf, being out for 2 months, and then not getting enough reps to come back. And then, lo and behold, after a couple weeks, he starts performing better again. Bo Bichette had a very slow start to the season, and you can't remove months from the season, I know, but if you remove the first couple weeks, I'm pretty sure Bo Bichette his average is hovering right around 300. He has a good amount of RBIs. If he hit behind Lindor and Soto all year, he would have over 100 RBIs easily. So, yes, he had a very slow start to the season, and you can get mad at that, but he's been much better since, and his overarching numbers have still been down because that start to the season was so horrible. Juan Soto got hurt twice. He hurt both of his calves this year, once in the early part of the year, and now he's on the injured list again, and still he has been awesome. When he's on the field, he is still clearly the best player on the field, and he's had 2 calf strains this year, so you can't discredit him. Luis Robert Jr. is injury prone. There's no denying that, and he's been injured a lot this year, so that's on Stearns, I think. Then right field, Bench has been spectacular since his slow start to the season. So a lot of things didn't shake right for the Mets. I don't think that Stearns built this team correctly, but now, getting back to the original point of this video, and not talking about the beginning of the season anymore, now that it seems like they have no pressure anymore. They started playing a little bit better after Carlos Mendoza was fired, and Andy Green took over, but, you can't expect a team with this much talent to be as horrible as they are for the entire season. They had a 14-game losing streak, dragged them down tremendously. They probably couldn't have recovered from that unless they ripped off a 14-game heater, which was very unlikely. So, they started performing a little bit better, and then, right now, after the trade deadline, they've been awesome. And that's probably because these guys know that they have nothing to play for. They're not thinking about the draft and tanking for the draft. We have a draft lottery, and first of all, in Major League Baseball, and the Mets don't have good luck ever, so you can't expect them to get the first pick. But even if they do, it takes years for players to come up through the pipeline before they get to the major leagues. This isn't like the NBA, where tanking is such a big problem because you want a great young player on your team for next year. So, basically, the Mets aren't playing for anything, and that's allowing them to have more fun. And I'm a big believer that, and of course I want my team to succeed, but I'm a big believer that if the players aren't having fun, they will not perform well. And yes, having fun while playing a professional sport is a lot easier when you're performing well. But even if you're performing poorly, you still have to try and remember that you still have the privilege of playing a kids game for a living, and you're making millions of dollars a year doing it. So now these players are remembering how to have fun. They're not worried about trying to make the playoffs. They're just worried about trying to do their best to show that this team isn't absolutely awful. They're playing loose. They're playing fun. The bullpen is an interesting case. I'm not sure how they've been so good, but Daniel Duarte has been awesome. Nate Lavender, awesome. Jeffrey Yan is a lot of fun. See where I'm going with this? A lot of fun with his jumping up in the air, and he's pitching pretty well as well. Austin Warren just came back, had a really nice outing coming back from the injured list. Devin Williams is on the injured list, and that has opened up the closer role for Kodai Senga, and Senga has been awesome. Noel McLean has turned in maybe 5 or 6 starts in a row that have all been really solid. Christian Scott is lowering his pitch count a little bit, which you love to see. Zach Thornton is still a reliable left-handed arm. You just go up and down this team, and you're like, if this team was playing if this roster was going out all year, the Mets might have had a better chance at a playoff spot. Now, you can't expect Nate Lavender to keep up his sub-1 ERA over an 80-game sample size. That's just not possible. But these players, I'm really looking forward to 2027 now. Hope we get a season. Alvarez is still reliable behind the plate. First base, you're gonna have to figure out. But the outfield prospects, Ewing and Benj, both look great. McLean looks great. So, honestly, and I feel like I said it on the channel, maybe not on the channel at all, but I definitely said it in my life this season. Excuse me. This team, the post-trade deadline Mets, have to be an audition for next year. And I didn't realize that every piece they were going to ship off is the bullpen. But the bullpen, you're auditioning bullpen arms for next year. You're seeing if Nate Lavender can be in your bullpen next year. You're seeing if Kodai Senga can continue to be a high leverage arm at the major league level, because clearly the starter thing isn't working out anymore. You're seeing if Jeffrey Yan can stay in your bullpen for next year. These are the kinds of things that a team that is out of a playoff race should be doing. This is what a team like the Mets should be doing. They should be giving young players a shot. I'm surprised if Luis Robert Jr. hadn't come back from injury Nick Morabito would be getting just as much playing time as Benj and Ewing. It's getting a little, I mean, they're trying to mix in Beatty in the outfield, which I don't fully understand, because you have those 3 guys. I do want to see Luis Robert play more left field, but nevertheless, this team is just really fun to watch right now. I'm really enjoying watching this team and not having to worry about the playoffs. So that's pretty much all I got. I just wanted to talk about this team a little bit. So thank you all so much for watching and listening. I will see you next time. Peace.